more, we'll have some more information or an opportunity for y'all to share about your transfer experiences. Bees, mesh, rest, relax. That's awesome. I'm glad that you felt relaxed. I want to know more about that program and what your school's doing there. Angry. I'm sorry that you experienced any kind of anger. I know it can be really frustrating depending on where you're transferring from. And like I've heard a lot of students say, like, the community college was so supportive, really helped me through different processes, but then going to a big university, I felt kind of lost or left behind. Meh, that's fair. That's fair. Focused. That's a great, I think, way to put it. Transfer students, typically when they're making that decision to move to another university, do have a very specific idea of what they want to do when they get somewhere new. I'm glad that there is people that felt carefree. That's probably the ultimate goal, is that you feel carefree and it's seamless. A lot of mess. All right, well, thank you all for participating in that. I'm going to go back to my presentation. Like I said, I want to stay on time here. All right. So I have another set of poll questions, and then we're going to dive in with our panelists to talk a little bit more. But I want to give you guys a chance to share, I got to go back. To share, when does your transfer transition begin at your campus? Is it before the application process, like with transfer ambassadors, or does it start at transfer admissions when you submit your application and then you start hearing from the admissions office, like requesting things about your transcript? Maybe it wasn't even that early. Maybe it was during orientation, or perhaps it was as late as your first semester, or maybe it was a different time or not at all. We'd like to hear that. And then also hear, a little bit more seriously, how supported you felt during your transfer transition, how peer support or student leaders play a role in the transfer transition experience at on your campus. And then if you would like, you can shout out a transfer mentor, peer, or advocate below, and we'll try and share those out a little bit later in the session. That's awesome to hear that it started before the application process. Sometimes students feel like they would like more information before they even decide to apply, such as like learning about degree plans or how to apply, or the best way to get into the desired school that they want to go to. And so it's nice that so many of you are sharing. We're at like 46% say before the application process. And then 28% is coming in next for admissions. And then I'm really happy to see that it's happening so much earlier than maybe I expected for students. In terms of how supported did you feel during your transfer transition? It seems like it's about in the middle right now as the majority of students, of participants. And then in terms of how peer support and student leaders play a role in the transfer transition experience, we're looking, it depends. It's kind of even keeled. It's about even across the board. Just going to give a little bit more time. All right. Well, here I'm going to share the results. Just again, want to be mindful of time, but I'm really happy to hear that so many of you start to see this transitional support before the application process. Definitely want to see these numbers climb higher, that you feel more supported during the transition. I think that can definitely help with like graduation persistence and a variety of other things. And then thank you for shouting out to people who are transfer mentors, peers, or advocates. Like I said, if we have time, we'll try to circle back to that later. Okay, so I want to go ahead, like I said, because we're getting tight on time and I want to make sure we have plenty of time to hear from our presenters. Today, we have two wonderful professionals, Dr. Marisol Garza and Dr. Jackie Doer. First, Marisol Garza is an institutional support consultant for the Trellis Company. In this role, she helps minority serving institutions implement strategies to maximize student support. As a first generation Latina student and community college graduate, her work is driven by her personal experience and is centered on examining educational systems, practices, and processes to advance equity, strengthen transfer pathways, and facilitate educational attainment for minoritized students. As a longtime community college professional, Dr. Garza began her work as a work-study student at Lone Star College, Tomball, and then held several positions in financial aid and student services at Lone Star College, Side Fair, Austin Community College, University of Houston Downtown, and Houston Community College. During her graduate studies, Dr. Garza was selected as a community college research fellow for the Texas Success Center and served as a graduate research assistant for the Texas Transfer Project and the Center for Community College Student Engagement. She earned her AA from Lone Star College, BS in Psychology from the University of Houston, MED in Counseling and Guidance at Texas State University, and her PhD in Educational Leadership and Policy from the University of Texas. Welcome. And then Dr. Jackie Doer is impassioned by her own transfer student experience. She acts as an advocate and agent for transfer student success initiatives at the university level. She's been collaborating and creating retention services and programs for 12 years, currently serving as the program manager for transfer student success at the University of California, San Diego. In addition to her research and work around transfer students, Dr. Doer specializes in academic difficulty as well as a sense of belonging among commuter students. Within our technology-saturated culture, Dr. Doer seeks to create accessible, cutting-edge, student-centered programs and services and efforts to build students' connection to the university, other students, and their goals. So I'm going to stop sharing just so that we can spotlight these wonderful panelists. Hello, welcome. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with what I hope is a little bit of a fun but softball question, and just wanted to ask y'all if you could both share your connection to transfer. I know I spoke a little bit about it in your bios, but speak about your connection to transfer and why it's become such an important component of your work.
Dr. Garza, do you want to start or should I?
I was thinking the same thing. You can go right ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to be here. What a wonderful day to talk transfer and see an eclectic group of individuals in the space. So this is really exciting. So transfer has been a passion of mine since, oh goodness, I'd say back from my own experience. So I had transferred from a community college to a four-year university. And at the time, I felt like I was really lost. I remember not doing orientation because I was working part-time and needed money, right? I'm going to choose money before I chose my orientation. And I remember being told, oh, it's your first quarter. We don't know what classes you should take. Just take upper division GEs. And that's not an answer. That wasn't an answer for me. That was a cop out. And I was really frustrated, right? Like that was my first quarter going into my four-year institution. And ever since then, I've sort of had this fuel, I would say, like a push, an internal fuel to make an experience better than the one I had. And it's funny because since then, I got my master's, I got my ED. Transfers has always been a focal point in both research as well as the work I've done in the different jobs. I find ways to make sure I had found ways to make sure transfer was a focal point. And I still think we've come a long way to back when I transferred, but even what I'm saying, like, like thinking about the advising experiences that we have, thinking about those orientation experiences and accommodating people who are working part-time. Um, are we doing all we can to make sure that our transfer students are supported? So on one hand, it's been a while, right, since my experience. On another hand, some things haven't changed, some things have. It just depends on our institution. So I'll pass it to you, Dr. Garza.
Thank you. And I'm totally with you on that. I transferred a long time ago, and it's interesting to see that there's still a lot of things that haven't changed, although there has been some big changes. So obviously my initial connection to transfer is that I am also a transfer student. I transferred from Lone Star College to the University of Houston a long time ago. I also took typing in school. So yeah, like that was a whole thing. If you took typing, you were fancy. More so, the reason I think I connected to transfer specifically is because when I started, I never grew up thinking, hey, I want to work in higher education when I grow up. I just kind of like ended up here. I was called to it. I became an academic advisor soon after I completed my associate degree at the community college. And I was navigating the transfer process and thinking to myself, wow, I'm an academic advisor helping students navigate this process. I'm navigating it for myself, and it's really hard to navigate it as someone who's in the know. And as I continued to work with students, I realized that we had a lot of the same challenges: gathering information, putting classes together, just identifying where to get help, navigating, like even finding parking was a big challenge, just figuring out where to park at the university to go get help. So that became a big focus for me, especially as a first generation college student, because I just didn't have anybody to really turn to ask for that type of guidance. And also a lot of the people that I worked with who had degrees didn't start at a community college. They went straight to a four-year university. So they didn't have that understanding either. So, and also I've stayed pretty much connected to community colleges. I have worked a little bit outside of community colleges, but community colleges has been my thing. And a majority of students who enroll in community colleges declare that they want to transfer. So it became a focal point for me because it was very personal, but also because of all the students that I served along the way.
Thank you. I can relate to like both of those things in terms of like putting together like what I say, that like all the pieces of the puzzle, figuring it out on your own. And like I was an advisor before jumping into this role. And yeah, we're supposed to know these things, and it is a big challenge. And then now imagine you're a first generation student who's never had that experience before. You're coming from a community college who hasn't had the four-year university. Absolutely. No, definitely very much relate to those experiences. And I'm sure our students do as well. Just going off of that a little bit more, Dr. Garza, as a first generation Latina student and community college graduate, how has your personal experience influenced your work in examining educational systems and processes to advance equity and strengthen transfer pathways?
So that is really it. I lean more towards qualitative research. So my research is very personal. I am in my research and a part of my research because it was my experience, as a Latina facing this for the first time, as a first generation college student. There are just a lot of inequities in terms of even accessing information or getting help. I've often presented on just kind of my background, where I was told going to high school that I wasn't college material and I should really think in a different direction. So having internalized that for a while, it took me 9 years to graduate from the community college, just trying to figure it out, trying to get past that imposter syndrome, trying to really find my footing there after I've been told for so long that I didn't belong there. And so that's why, and that's how I find myself in this work, is because I exist in this work. I am in this work. And I look to try to mitigate some of those barriers that I faced for other students like me.
When you think about that, are there ways that you think student leaders who maybe who are currently going through college and going through this experience, how can they support students like you or like themselves through some of those challenges, do you think?
I think one of the things that we often overlook in student leaders is one, student leaders are kind of driven to that. They kind of already have a predisposition to that. And a lot of the times, the students that we're helping navigate this process haven't found their footing in that way. Like I said, they may be dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome. They may be dealing with a lot of just kind of narratives that they don't even belong. So first and foremost, I think it's to have compassion and understanding that, we all, although we have shared experiences, we walk different paths. And my experience is not like anybody else's experience. And so it's really learning to tune in, to listen, to understand what students are asking for, what they need in their transition. Also, coming back from an academic advising background, and Mandy, I'm sure you can relate, is we have kind of this set approach for these are all the things you need to know. These are all the things you need to do. Check, 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 check. And we kind of leave the person out of the equation. So it's recentering the person and the human experience as we're engaging with them.
Yeah, I definitely, the check box, I remember my training, like they're literal check boxes to make sure that you're hitting all the notes for each student. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Dr. Doerr, your research has focused on academic difficulty and a sense of belonging among commuter students specifically. How do you think colleges and universities can utilize their transfer student leaders to create a more supportive environment for commuter transfer students?
Thank you for asking that, Mandy. This is so interesting to me because I think about my positionality versus a student leader positionality. And the reality is my university has to see me every day. And that is taxing, right? That means they hear from me every day. And so my message can get lost on occasion, right? That's where student leaders come in, and the voice of student leaders can make a big difference. The ideas of student leaders can make a big difference. I think the greatest thing about the students in this room is that you're all teaching us. As much as you're on the campus, you're all teaching us. So when I think about things about academic difficulty, and in particular, as you said, supporting transfer commuter students, the best thing that we have done is really look to you all as the transfer students who are in this room, and we say, if you are not on campus, how do you connect to campus, or how would you like to connect to campus? So it's as silly sometimes as having a website that says what you need it to say, right? Like, what is the information that students truly need to feel connected to campus? If there is an event on campus, how can we live stream it? If there is if there is a way to connect with advising and you have to come in for an appointment, are we still implementing some of those best practices that we learned during the pandemic, making sure that we can do Zoom appointments, making sure we have after hours appointments? So when I think about a commuter transfer student, I think about accessibility and I think about innovation. And that's where I really think we tap into you all as student leaders and say, what works for you? Because odds are, if it works for you, it might work for someone else as well.
I think that's a really great point and kind of ties into everything that we've said so far in terms of recognizing the students' needs and meeting them where they're at and hearing from them, like, how can we know what that is? It's not as easy just to do a checklist and check off a box. Like, we really do need to hear what they need, when they need it. I love the after hours advising as a suggestion. Like you said, using the things that we learned over during the pandemic, if it's over, I guess, but like kind of using those tools, like we can be innovative and we can be creative. And just because we're going back to a normal doesn't mean that we have to let go of some of those things, especially if it serves our students better. This question, I think, kind of builds a little bit on what we've been saying, but what are some of the unique needs and challenges faced by transfer students, especially from underrepresented backgrounds? And how can colleges better support these students? How can student leaders better support these students? We talked a little bit about this, but maybe you can elaborate more. And this is for both.
So I will dive in there. It's really hard to pinpoint, but like you said, and what you're doing here, I think is critically important, and it is to amplify the student voice and to understand, what their needs are. Some of the common challenges are just information and really just the messaging that they actually belong there, that there is a place for them there. It's also just learning to navigate the space, and that really kind of goes for everybody, but it is really learning to navigate that space. So the more we can tune in, the more we can amplify students, especially students from marginalized backgrounds, the more we can understand their journey and then create programs around it. I've often thought of having sister programs where you have a student org at the university and you have a sister program at the most common transfer community college, and make that transition kind of easy where they're already engaging in activities together and they have like a ready-made network, like a safe community that can help them with that transition. So engaging things like that ahead of time when students kind of get the idea that they want to transfer to an institution is start building those networks in a more creative way for them.
Yeah, and I'm thinking a lot about Dr. Garza, your comment about bringing those networks in and building those networks. And the thing that first came to my mind for this question is, yes, challenges faced by underrepresented students might vary based on student need and university supports, right? The university itself. And yet there is always this sense of belonging factor that many transfer students and many underrepresented transfer students don't see themselves either in the classroom or at the university. Even if maybe they see themselves, there's a sense of, that is this really a space for me, right? Imposter syndrome that is, I think in many ways, many of us might feel it in different ways and shapes in our lives, right? So something that occurs to me so much, again, when I think about that networks and building networks, is mentorship. And when I think about student leaders and how student leaders can support, mentorship really comes to mind. How do we make sure that our students are finding people who they resonate with, both in the classroom and outside the classroom, both in advising, in the residence halls and things like that? So I really would add this concept of mentorship, but and student leaders can be a connector for that mentorship. If not the mentor themselves, they can be the connector for that.
Yeah, I think that that's also another way that you can amplify student voices, especially for students who maybe aren't super comfortable sharing directly with staff or faculty, but they can talk to a peer and say, hey, these are the things I'm experiencing. And through those mentors can help be advocates. So it can just kind of keep amplifying that student voice and building a sense of community. Thank you both for sharing. Let's see. I would like to ask both of you, if you have any suggestions on how student leaders, I imagine, talking a little bit more about mentor programs, but if there are any specific examples of student-centered programs and services that student leaders can use to help those transfer students faced by the challenges, especially if they're from underrepresented backgrounds, and how they can go to create that sense of belonging, especially if they're feeling disconnected from the community on campus. Sorry, that was a little muddy.
I can start with this one. And Mandy, I just want to make sure I understand your question. You're asking, what are some best practices that we've seen in play to get students connected to a sense of belonging that student leaders can participate in? Is that right?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, I love this question, and I think I get really excited because I think if she's still here, we have a peer coach in our space right now from UC San Diego. Vivian, if you're still here, awesome. I'm glad you're here. There you are. Yeah, in the chat. So I really want to give a shout out to our peer coach program at UC San Diego, because our peer coaches, as soon as students hit the accept button at UC San Diego, they have access to peer coaches. And I like to say sometimes that there's, we're talking about transitions and the gray area between the moment a student hits, I accept, I'm going to this institution, to the time that they register. It can feel a little murky depending on the university. In our university, it can feel a little murky. And that's when our transfer students and our peer coaches and our student leaders come in and really make a difference. So we make sure that we're offering virtual appointments when students are in this murky middle space. We're doing outreach so that students know that the peer coaches are available. We just moved into a new space that has more than 500 square feet. So yes, if students are on campus, we can serve them now. And so it's really great to see. Sometimes I like to say that sometimes we don't have the answer, right? We're not, I work in a transfer hub. We're not advising. We're not the registrar. But we can get students connected. We're that resource wayfinding way. And the peer coaches can say, I've been in your shoes. This is tough. Let me help you through it. And so I think that's a good example of making sure that student leaders are there from the moment they hit accept. Can make a big difference.
There's I think a lot of things that can be done on different levels at universities to kind of create that sense of belonging. And it starts with messaging. It starts with messaging to the students as soon as that student clicks accept or is admitted to the institution, is those messages that say, not only welcome, but we want to have you here. These are the resources that are available to you. And have those resources laid out, transfer specific resources, transfer specific orgs. One thing to kind of keep in mind, if we think about transfer students, like your experience, Mandy, and like mine, is by the time we transferred, we were already kind of an older student. I was working full time. Some of my peers that transferred with me, they had families. So having events on the campus that were at different times that allowed families or that incorporated activities for families made a huge difference in being able to feel connected to the institution. Instead of just the traditional like midday, here's this event where we're going to serve some food, something that was a little more open where we could bring our families was always great. Also, connecting with programs like Puente at community colleges, those programs that are already starting to expose students to the transfer experience early. If transfer leaders at universities can get plugged into those programs and start delivering that message early, be there when the students are touring, like don't just leave that to whoever's assigned to tour that day, but really have some student leaders there that can share their experience and really extend that welcome message. I think that goes a long way. And even creating those programs on the community college side, even creating those programs where you can create like a mini network of students that are all interested in transferring to, University of Texas, like this is your future Longhorn group, and kind of create that sense of teamwork, belonging, like we're in this together kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that there are opportunities between, like you said, common community colleges or institutions that are transferring to these bigger universities, like to definitely develop those relationships and help create pathways to be like, this is what my experience was like. That's something that's certainly on the front of our mind, and maybe a big task, but definitely something that like we've been saying, bringing in students to help with that and say, like, I've been in your shoes, I think can go really far. Let's see. Let's do a final question because I want to allow time for our A&M students to share. is there just anything that you can say that you have seen in your work that how can transfer student leaders in college maybe help create a sense of belonging? I know we talked about developing peer mentoring, maybe connecting. Is there anything else that maybe you want to say or elaborate on that just to wrap up?
Yeah, I definitely agree that community is like a really big part of it. Sorry, you're referring to me, right? And so we want to double check.
I'm sorry, not yet. Not yet. You're coming up really soon. I'm so sorry. I was just wondering if Dr. Garza or Dr. Dewar had any just maybe final words in terms of how transfer students can help facilitate that sense of belonging when they transfer in. Yet again, another muddy question. I apologize.
I apologize. You said A&M students, and they were like a question for them.
I'm getting
so
excited. I'm sorry. No, you're all good. You're all good.
I think something that I think I would just emphasize even more, let's make sure, it was in the chat a little bit, like, how do we make sure that student leaders are given a voice? And we as professionals can coach through providing that voice in the most efficient way possible, in a way that makes sense for the university. That can make a big difference. I think to Dr. Garza's point as well, one of the greatest achievements that we've seen is letting our students take the reins when it comes to our programming. Every now and then I have a good idea, but really it's our team who produces the amazing ideas. And we had one of the student assistants last week did a karaoke night on Friday and had, families in, and there were, people, older students, younger students, and in our tiny little conference room, and it was adorable, right? And moments like that are great. That didn't come from my brain, right? That was our team, and we make sure to empower them to do the great work. So when I think about Dr. Garza's point about having events that are inclusive, I would add to that, yes, and how do we make sure we're touching upon some intersecting identities, like having events where women of color transfers who are women of color in STEM can come together, right? Students with dependents. And so, although let's say the population might be smaller, the community will be rich. And so how do we make sure that we are empowering student leaders to come up with beautiful ideas and can make those things come to fruition? I think I'll stop there.
And I couldn't agree more with the point of, giving space to the student leaders to have a voice. We were transfer students. We had our experience. Our time has kind of gone, as we get further away from that experience, we really do, as practitioners, as professionals, need to turn to students to stay in touch and to understand what those needs are. And so I think as professionals, we have an active responsibility to make sure that the student voice is always included, and to remember that we may know some things, but we don't know everything. And we really do. That's the only way we're going to be able to understand. That's the only way we're going to be able to build programs that work, is by hearing directly from our students. And student leaders give us a line to do that. So I'm telling everybody out there, be intentional about incorporating your student leaders into your programming, and make sure that they have a voice as representatives for other student voices.
Thank you both so much. And thank you for bearing with me with those last couple kind of confusing questions. I appreciate it. It has been wonderful hearing from your experiences, and I could probably let you guys talk even more and more. But now I would like to allow A&M a chance to share and speak. So thank you again for just speaking to your personal experiences and your professional experiences. It has been really great hearing from both of you, and I'm excited to hear what the audience thinks and how they might begin incorporating some of the things that y'all talked about today in your session. All right, so I'm going to get familiar with my Zoom. All right. So today I'm really excited to introduce some of our student leaders from Texas A&M's Transfer Student Program. We have Bren and Kendall who will be sharing more. I'm going to let them take over. They have a presentation that they're going to share with us. So you won't hear from me for a little bit, but thank you again to our panelists, and I'll let you guys get started.
Mandy, can we share our screen?
You should be able to share your screen now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, guys.
All right. Howdy, thank you all for being here with us today. We are here on behalf of Texas A&M University, and today we'll be discussing the transfer student program and how we successfully transition our students into Texas A&M.
Howdy everyone, my name is Kendall Carmen. I'm a senior allied health major here at A&M. I started at TSP in August last year as a transfer student peer mentor. And a little bit about me and my Aggie story. I grew up in an Aggie household. So my mom is class of 86 and my brother is class of 2012. Sorry. I actually did not get into A&M out of high school, and it absolutely devastated me because my entire life was built around A&M, built around coming to this university, and I did not get in. But A&M did offer me an alternative program called the Program System for Admissions. So I went to Texas A&M Corpus Christi for my freshman year, and then I was an automatic admit to A&M College Station coming in for my sophomore year. And I had a pretty unique transfer experience because I had already been so familiar with campus and I was familiar with traditions and I loved A&M. So coming here already felt like home for me, but I knew several students and several of my friends that had also transferred didn't have a similar experience like that. Even though I was good socially, I was good like geographically, I knew where I was going. I really struggled academically. And I didn't really know about the resources that were offered to me as a student and specifically as a transfer student. So when I found out about those resources, I decided to become a mentor to ensure that students like me knew that they could have those resources and utilize them during their time here at A&M.
Howdy, y'all. My name is Brenda Mancera. I'm class of 2023. I'm a senior English major and I'll be graduating this semester. I'm a transfer peer coordinator here and I started back in February of 2022. So one of the big reasons I fell in love with A&M was when I was 10 years old, my teacher was a diehard Aggie. She loved A&M. She would show us photos, videos, Caulfield campus, literally everything you could think of. And I loved it. I loved it so much. We tell so many stories about A&M too. So I just fell in love with A&M, just like pursued it afterward. And when I received my acceptance letter, I was like beyond ecstatic. I like jumped on my parents' bed. I think I woke them up. I was so happy. My first semester at A&M was pretty stressful. I actually fractured my knee 2 days after my new student conference. So I literally had to like email all of my professors, all my advisors, and put them like in an email chain and be like, hey, I need help. I need to switch all of my classes online, please. Like I'll be online for my first semester at A&M. So that definitely wasn't the plan. It was really stressful. That's what happened, but they were very kind, very helpful with it. And I did do my first semester online, but I enjoyed it. I came back the last 2 months just to be on campus and just like meet people and just to see like how A&M looked during fall season and Christmas season. And I really did enjoy it. Everyone here is so friendly. They were so nice. So it was a good experience. And I definitely think it's one of the reasons I decided to join TSP. I just wanted to be able to help people, and like whether they were struggling like something as unique as my situation was, or whether it's like other things that I also struggled with. I just wanted to be able to like be there and like talk to them, let them know like, hey, like it's okay, like things happen. But A&M, everyone here at A&M is so helpful that you're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out, like it's gonna be okay. So as we begin our presentation, we like to get a sense of your institution's transfer-specific culture and support. So in other words, what we'd like to do is a quick survey called Read the Room. So you should now be able to see the questions on your screen. So go ahead, take a few moments to answer the questions.
I'll just give y'all a couple more minutes and then we'll go over some of the results as well.
Okay, so I did go ahead and see some of the responses we had. So the first question we had was, does your institution have a success program dedicated to transfer students? A lot of y'all did go ahead and respond yes. So I think that's really great. But we did have honestly quite a few no's. We had about 20% of y'all respond no. So this is definitely a situation to like go through, because I know like if personally that in my position, that if we didn't have TSP, it would struggle a little bit to like transition, just like meet community, meet friends. The next question we had was, does your institution provide transfer students or college-wide level mentor, peers, leader, ambassadors? And I'm glad to say that yes was a resounding answer. 50% of the things were yes. And then question 3 was, does your institution provide community space just for transfers, which is like transfer center, a lounge, a dorm, or a building? And we did get 37% questions of yes, which is amazing, but we did get no being a 47% response. Which honestly, that's another big one, that like having a community, I think is really important, a space just for us to meet together, talk, and share ideas. It's just a really important thing, just like feel safe, especially when you go to such a big university when you're transferring over. Question 4 was, does your institution host a campus-wide transfer student week? 65% was yes. I'm really glad to see that. We had one this past year and it was absolutely amazing. Number 5, does your institution seek transfer student representation in organizations, student government, or other campus leadership positions? 44% yes, 14% no, and then we did have a few it's complicated, which is a fair response. That's a tricky one to respond just because it was a more like open area question. And then our final question was, if yes or no didn't work on the question, take a second to expound here. And we didn't get many questions on that one, so that's good to see it was straightforward. But yeah, and that's all we had for Read the Room, and I'm glad you were able to participate with us on that one.
Thank y'all so much for participating in the poll. I see a lot of people are dropping things in the chat, so we appreciate y'all's participation. So the transfer student program, who are we and what do we do? Here at TSP, our biggest goal is to just make sure that our students feel comfortable socially, mentally, and academically. And we do this in a variety of different ways here at TSP. So here's a few things that we offer here at TSP. We offer mentorship, academic assistance, events and activities, satellite stations, vlog and podcasts. We do have late office hours, and then we have the transfer village and study spaces, which each one of these topics we'll be covering in this presentation. So first up is mentorship. This is one of my favorite things that we get to do here at TSP. So as a mentor, all of us are transfer students. That's a requirement to be a mentor here at TSP. And our goal is to just ease nerves, answer questions, we plan events, and we offer guidance to our students. Mentees and mentors are all paired together by majors. So for example, I'm in the School of Public Health. So I have public health students, I have some science students as well, just because our degree plans are similar and we take similar classes. And then mentorship can look different for every single student. So we have Zoom appointments, we have one-to-one appointments, we have satellite stations, which we'll cover later on. And then we have this thing called the transfer intake form, and it essentially allows our mentees to fill this out and it will get sent to us. And so we can prep for the meeting that we have with them. So they can say, oh, I need help on procrastination or time management or study skills or note taking and things like that. So we can kind of prep and give them resources ahead of time. Appointments are all 20 minutes. And like I said, we cover a multitude of topics. And we like to point them to resources that will help them, which is our academic coaching and referrals. So we oftentimes will refer them outside of our office to use either the help desk for like their labs, or the academic success center for tutoring, the writing center for papers and essays or applications and things like that. We just want to make sure that they know about those resources that A&M offers outside of TSP. And then, like I said, we offer late office hours and we have study spaces. And this is extremely helpful for our students, especially with students trying to fit in time for appointments when they have classes all day and things like that. But at the end of the day, we are a support system. And as mentors, since we've all transferred, we understand the stress and the struggle academically, emotionally, and mentally during the first semester or two here at A&M. And we just want to ease those nerves going forward for those students. So our biggest goal here at TSP is to successfully help our students acclimate to Texas A&M. We want to make sure that our students make A&M and College Station feel like home. And to us, that means creating a community where students can create friendships, long-lasting memories, and to feel like they always have someone to turn to for advice. Mentorship, socials, satellite stations, and our social media presence and academic assistance all make up TSP. And we believe that this is a great way to give our students a great university experience here at A&M. So for academic assistance, first and foremost, we are not academic advisors, but we do share our experiences and we help students navigate classes and we like to build their confidence. So every single time that I meet with mentees, I always encourage them to meet with their academic advisors because that is super important. And we like to point them to other resources, like I said earlier, like the Career Center, Help Desk, Library, Academic Success Center, those things that we have on campus that they can utilize during their time here. A way that I like to provide academic assistance is by sharing my experiences. So a lot of the times I'll get mentees come to me and ask about a certain professor or a certain class here at A&M that I've taken, just because my mentees are lined up with my major. So I like to share those experiences with them. I like to say, this is a great way to study for this class, or this is a great way to connect with that professor, and just give them advice in that kind of way. And I also love to help them navigate A&M, because A&M is pretty challenging and we have hard professors, we have large class sizes, and we just want to make sure that our mentees have all of the tools that they need to be successful. An example of building their confidence, which I think is so fun, and like seeing mentees go from the first appointment to like later on in the semester and getting emails from them saying, oh, my semester went so well, like you helped build my confidence or help me overcome XYZ. But I've had several come to me and ask, how do I talk to professors? How do I email them? How do I start those conversations? How do I connect with them? And I love to just let them see that they're not so scary. And professors at A&M truly are just here to help us. And whether that's giving them like a example email or something like that, it just helps tremendously. So being able to do that for them is super nice. And we just never want mentees to feel like they don't have someone to go to about academics. And we truly are a judgment-free zone, and we just point them to all the resources that they can utilize here. So these are just a couple examples of academic resources that we use during appointments. I love both of these, the 5-day study plan and the time budget sheet. I've used these in several appointments. And I actually use these myself, especially the 5-day study plan. I use these a lot for my science classes. So we do have an office here on campus that is subject-specific tutoring, but as mentors, we offer study skills coaching to adjust to the rigors of A&M coming from a junior college or a community college or even another 4-year institution. We just want to make sure that they are able to be successful in their classes. And our main goal is just get them academic resources that they need, and that we have way more than just these, but these are a few common ones that we like to use during meetings. So next up, we have something new, and these are peer-led workshops called Academics and Transfer Connection. We understand that transfers have to tweak the way that they study coming to A&M because of rigorous classes and difficult professors and things like that. So as mentors, we lead workshops throughout the year for transfers to take advantage if they need them. So these are going to be 15-minute courses, and they offer free lunch or dinner depending on the time. And we do a multitude of topics. We cover focus and concentration, time management, and then the transfer connection workshops are really fun for our non-trad students, and like self-discovery and things like that. So these are really great ways for not only mentees to meet each other, but also gain some skills moving forward in their academic career. Next up, we have the Transfer Village. I love spending time in the village. That's where all of us mentors hang out during our shifts. And I come up here a lot doing homework when I'm not on shift too. We have study spaces. We offer free coffee and snacks. We have a Nintendo Switch and a TV. This is where all of our appointments take place. And then we have privacy loungers as well. And this is just a great place for our mentees because it's a place that transfer students can just call theirs. And they don't have to, worry about any judgment or anything like that. It's just a safe space for them. So we like having this.
So next we have events and activities. So throughout the semester, we have a variety of events and activities. We host socials, workshops, send out bi-weekly newsletters, host reoccurring events, and as Aggies, we give back to our community also. So socials are a really great way for transfers to get outside of their dorm room, meet other students who are transferred into A&M. It's also really great for them to become more familiar with campus and just make those Aggie connections that are so vital here at A&M. So we hosted quite a few this past semester. So one of my most favorites was the local. So the local features over 50 small businesses from our College Station Bryan area. They sell freshly baked bread, ice cream, candles. They have wooden charcuterie boards, and it's held outdoors. And it's a really great opportunity for transfers to get outdoors and then do some local shopping in our area. We also host craft nights, so students can team up with mentors and they can create really fun crafts that they're able to take home as keepsakes and like put them in their dorm room, decorate their room a little better, or even their house. In addition, we recently hosted a murder mystery night. So it was a whodunit storyline, and there was 3 suspects, and basically the students had to figure out who the murderer was, and by interrogating them, asking questions, and kind of like figuring out the crime scene. The students had an absolute ball with this one. They loved it. It was a really great time, and the mentors had a really good time bonding with their students. And other events we've hosted are indoor game days and outdoor game days. And those are really great opportunities for students to get some fresh air and just de-stress of a really long week of doing classes, working, homework, whatever they have. It's just a really great de-stressor for them. So next up, we have reoccurring events. So we understand that transitioning into a new academic environment can be super challenging. So that's the reason we offer reoccurring events. We believe it's a really consistent source of support and community. And some of the ones we offer is we have a TSP book club. So we're currently reading Shadows by Alex North, and we read a few chapters and then we meet together on Mondays and just talk about it, hash it out. Like, how was it? Did we love it? Did we hate it? It's just a really great time to like talk with mentees and just like bond about books and like what we love reading, our favorite authors. We also have a non-traditional Aggie happy hour. So that's a really great way for non-traditional students to meet together, find community, find support, and just talk about any struggles they have, any highs they've had this week, any lows they had. They really love it. We've had a lot of non-traditional students like talk to us, meet with us, and they enjoy that there's like an option for them to like meet together and just share that community sense. Another one we have is art hour. So our hours, we make crafts, we do painting, we paint canvases. They can really, students can really like express themselves artistically, and they can go ahead and take home any things they create, whether it's a canvas, a painting. It's really great for them to express themselves and just like de-stress and paint. We aim to plan and host a wide range of events. So we want to engage as many transfers as possible. And these are some of the events we've done. So if you see on the first photo we have cooking class. So that was really just a great opportunity for them to learn how to cook easy meals, whether it's easy meal, a cheap meal, or something you can put in the microwave, because we know most dorm rooms, they don't have like actual full functioning ovens. They have to work with dorms. So that's a really creative way for them to figure out some new recipes. The second one we did was that's outdoor game day and pizza. We have a bunch of like games outside on the lawn, and then you just like chat, meet new friends, have a ball, and then just eat some pizza afterward. And the third one was academic workshop. So as Kendall mentioned, those are academics. So that's a really great way for students to learn more about memorization, note-taking skills, kind of everything that Kendall went over. But yeah, it's a really great way for the transfers to like make friends and meet other transfers who are in the same position as them. So we have some more over here. So if you see on our left, that's our Art It Out one. So that's these are the most recent ones. So the Art It Out one was the one where they could like make a painting and like take it home, like decorate the room a little bit. And then the one to our right is also our murder mystery. That was last week. That's one of our suspects. So he had like a little like, crazy image on his face, but it was a really fun time. The students enjoyed it. And next up we have is National Transfer Student Week. So in October last year, Texas A&M participated in National Transfer Student Week. So we partnered with 10 departments across campus. We gave away prizes to over 957 students, and we had campus-wide social media campaign. If you go ahead, you can also click, we'll send a calendar in the chat, and you can see like the entire schedule we had for that entire week. We scheduled multiple events per day, and a lot of them had free food, a lot of them had free prizes, a lot of them were like quick ones where students can stop by on the way to class, and a lot of them were like workshops where students can sit down and learn more about whether it's professional school or whether it's how to take better notes, study. And there's really good opportunities for students to know like how much we appreciate them here at A&M and how much we appreciate everyone who's advocated for them as transfer students to get to A&M. And next up, we have Through the Lens. So here are some of the cute snapshots we got from National Transfer Student Week. You can see we had a lot of people giving away pretzels, we had some chatting. We had a lot of students that didn't know each other that day, and they kind of just showed up, talked to each other, met, exchanged social media. So they did create lots of friendships that day. So it was really cute to see that and just see them like get to know each other. So we also have service projects here at TSP. So our program offers volunteering opportunities that give students the chance to earn a few volunteer hours for an organization or extra credit, and as well for those who just generally want to volunteer. So this semester, we were proud to be able to work with Aggieland Humane Society and their mission to help provide care and support for animals who are homeless or have been abandoned. And other service partners we partnered with have been Habitat for Humanity, Meals on Wheels, and Big Event. So here at TSP, we believe that outreach is crucial when trying to gain the attention of transfers, especially in a university as large as Texas A&M. So each week we host satellite stations at either the MSC, which is our student center on campus, Evans Library, or the business library. So a satellite station is basically when two of our mentors are sent to table at one of our previously mentioned locations. So tabling is a really great way to promote and share information, and we just love being able to get our presence out there and interact with the students one-on-one. We also give away freebies, and we also like let students know we're going to be at a specific location, so they can pass by, they can get a free pin, free magnet, get a brochure, or they can just like chat with us, tell us about their week, or let us know any questions about campus, and we just help them either get them the answer or direct them where we best can find the answer. Next up is giveaways. This is one of my favorites, y'all. So here at TSP, we love being able to have giveaways. So they're a really great way to attract attention to our program, and they are great incentives. So they increase our reach and our ability to impact students. So y'all, that's actually me right there. We love giveaways. They're really fun, and we love being able to give with the students. We think it's, like I said, it's a really great way for them to like be incentivized to come to TSP, meet with us, talk to us, and also just get the word out there about TSP. And here are some of our biggest giveaways. So as you can see, we've given out red bags. They're like A&M, like kind of football type bags. And we filled them with pins, magnets, t-shirts. We had earbuds in them too. And we also give away food. So you can see from the photos, we've given away donuts in the morning. We've given out coffee, pizza. You see students having an absolute time. College students, as a college student, we love free stuff. So it goes very fast, and all the students love coming out to visit us. And speaking of giveaways, a great way to earn them here at A&M is through Maroonbase. So TSP actually partners with Maroonbase. It's an app that students can download in the App Store. It's a program that allows students to earn points for each event they attend on campus. And then these points can be redeemed at TSP in the form of prizes and giveaways, and with Maroonbase in the form of gift cards and cash. So they can earn a backpack, water bottle, journal, or even a flashlight. And we just believe it's a really great way to promote student involvement and get them out to TSP and then throughout campus. So throughout the semester, we have a variety of events and activities, but we also have podcast, blog, social media, and we just believe this is a really great way to get the name out about TSP. We have the vlog. This is our third semester having the podcast, and it's the first semester having the blog, but these are all just really great ways for us to market TSP and like show all the students and mentees here that we are also college students, and we've also experienced so many of the things they've experienced. And we just think it's really great for them to like feel noticed and feel known, and for them to like know that we understand what they're going through, any struggles they have, and that we're here to help them, and we're like happy to help them.
Alrighty, so we're going to talk about the Pass It Back podcast, and this is probably one of my favorite things that I get to do here at the Transfer Student Program. This is not an academic podcast, but we talk about life, we talk about campus resources and struggles as transfer students, and we just try to cover topics that we know transfer students are going to care about. Our main goal with this podcast is we want students to feel like they're in the room with us having these conversations, and that they just feel like they are not alone in whatever they're going through. So some example episodes that we've done have been Adulting 101, where we talked about everything adulting, which I guess all of us have different definitions of what adulting is. But for us, we talked about cooking and taking care of ourselves and some financial stuff. And we did also do an episode called Keeping a Budget. So we are all student workers here at TSP. So we talked about maintaining a budget in college. We talked about how to save up for groceries, how to save up for gas, different things like that, and making smart financial moves as college students. We also talked about life outside of academics. So we did talk about organizations that we're a part of, volunteering, things that we do to build our resume or get more involved in the community. And we love talking about that kind of stuff and pointing mentees to those kinds of places. And then we also did a Face Your Fears, which we got very much into the nitty-gritty of things. We talked about fear of failure and not feeling good enough, especially as a college or a transfer student. At least for me, whenever I transferred into A&M, I felt at home, but I was also scared that people were going to see me only as a transfer student, and that was going to be a label that I had to carry with me. And so we talked about that. And then we are also filming a book talk episode, which I'm so excited about because we're just going to be talking about popular books that we've all read, and just have a fun time with it. This podcast is super easygoing, and it's been an honor to be a part of it since I've been working at TSP. So, and yes, our students do love this. So. Next up, we have the vlog, which, as Bryn stated earlier, this started this semester. And these are visual resources for our transfer students that they have access to outside of meeting with mentors. So we do a variety of different kinds of videos. We are going to do Q&A videos. We're going to do what to expect videos. And then we also have a cooking cheap channel, which is super beneficial for college students, especially those living in dorms. So for our Q&A videos, we have an engineering student that is a mentor. So he's going to do a Q&A specifically geared to engineering here at A&M. And then we're also going to do a what to expect at your transfer new student conference. And it just explained how those 2 to 3 days go. So these are not only resources for current transfer students, but also prospective transfers, which I think is great that they have something to kind of utilize before they get to A&M or before they even think about transferring to A&M. It's just a really great way to kind of promote involvement in that way. Next up, we have social media presence, which I'm sure, as you probably know, it's extremely important, especially when trying to reach college students, because you have to think like a college student to reach them. And for the most part, yes, we are a opt-in program, but we rely heavily on social media to spread the word about our activities, our events, and programming. So we really utilize Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter just to spread the word about any volunteering opportunities or events that we have coming up, giveaways, and even just things that are happening campus-wide. And so we really take social media very seriously, and we find it's pretty useful to reach college students.
So in addition, we also have a bi-weekly newsletter. So it includes all the upcoming events and socials that we have for the next 2 weeks. And then each part of the letter offers a description of the event. And it's really easy for students to go ahead, see what the event is, see what date it is, and then just go ahead and register for right then and there. And yeah, it's just really easily accessible to them. We make sure to fill it with our upcoming activities, and it's definitely promoted a lot of student involvement, just because students are able to see one email and just have for the next 2 weeks instead of jumping around different places. So it's definitely helped us quite a bit. And we always like to know what other institutions are doing for transfers so we can share ideas. So if you have a minute, please participate in a simple activity called I like, I wish, I did, which is exactly what it sounds like. So in a few seconds, you're going to see a whiteboard on your screen. And basically what you do is you can go ahead and grab an empty sticky note from each column and list. So the first column is going to be something you like that your institution is doing for transfers. And the second one's going to be something you wish your institution is doing for transfers. And the third one is something you personally have done or participated in for transfers. And I'm really excited to see what y'all write for this one. Yeah, it's totally fine for struggling a little with the sticky thing. I see some of the chats. I can see like a bunch of stickies moving around. Totally fine. You just kind of just like pick it up and then you like type an answer in and you kind of like move it back with your mouse. And if you're having trouble like zooming in, so if you're on a desktop, you can like go ahead and zoom in, and then on Zoom, you'll see like a bar to scroll up by like the video option. It's like a bar to scroll up and then a bar to scroll like sideways. But go ahead and just take a few minutes to like go ahead and answer those.
And everybody, if you aren't able to get it on there right, I now see something that I think we could have done a little differently. So that's not your fault. And this was just a little exercise to get ideas, but don't worry about it if you didn't get it done.
Don't be afraid to type your answers in the chat. We can definitely share them out there.
Yeah, honestly, you can go ahead and do that one too. If you want to like go ahead and type it in the chat and I can read them out from the chat, that also works too, if that's something easier.
This is what my whiteboard really looks like anyway.
Yeah, I'm like,
this is like real life.
yeah, so I'm trying to go ahead and zoom in and see y'all's responses, but it's not.
That's okay, Brand. We'll take a copy of them and then we'll unpack them.
All right. All right, well, we can go ahead and move on to our last slide.
So as a transfer student, I struggled and I didn't really know about the resources that were offered to me, and that was just because I didn't ask. And we just want to make sure that transfers know that we exist and know what we do and that they know about our resources here at TSP.
Yeah, and we hope that through our presentation, you're able to gain a better understanding of the transfer student program here at A&M and just look at the crucial role it plays in terms of supporting our success of our students. And we really appreciate your interest and attention to our program. And we thank you for taking the time to be here with us today.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I know we're going a little bit close to time. That's because I tend to be long-winded and get lost because I get excited about transfer stuff. So thank you if you're sticking around. Just want to talk about a couple of takeaways from today's session. There are way more than this, but the things that stood out to me just immediately is that we all need to amplify the student voice. Without students, we cannot, and student leaders, we can't support transfer students. Also taking the time to understand the student needs, look beyond the checklist. Staff, faculty, institutions, and student peers should have compassion, empathy, and understanding. Transfer transition is a really big undertaking and task, and so just trying to approach each individual with these traits is really important. Also recognize intersecting identities and provide programming to include these smaller student populations. Like A&M said they do events for non-traditional students. I'm not gonna lie, as a Longhorn, I was like trying to reserve how cool your program, like how excited and neat all the programming that y'all do is, but even I have to admit, as a diehard Longhorn, that y'all are doing a lot of really cool stuff, and I hope that maybe we can implement it here on our campus. And then just remember to empower all students. We can't say that enough. I also want to just take time to say thank you to everybody for attending, especially to our panelists, both our professional and student panelists. I enjoyed speaking with you guys. I could have gone on and listened for a really long time to everyone. And so I just really want to express thanks and thank you for your patience with me and my kind of wacky sense of humor and everything. I appreciate everybody participating in like the Nick Cage poll. If you want to stick around for the AirPod drawing, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, who's going to handle that. And thank you again for sticking it out with us, even though we're a little bit past time.
Yeah, thanks, Mandy. I just want to echo your thanks to our panelists, Jackie and Marisol, and then also to Bren, Kendall, and their supportive staff, Val and Isabella. So thank you so much for all the time and effort you put in to make this a really wonderful Transfer Summit session. As our Transfer Summit comes to an end, also want to thank Mandy for leading us through today's session and all the prep work she did to learn about transfer transitions and to moderate today's panel. And again, to Madeline for yesterday's session. So without further ado, let me get to the AirPod drawing. If you signed up on that form, you should be in here. Must be present to win, even though we're just a couple minutes over. Is Lily Peterson here? Can you say something in the chat or come off mic? This is your chance, Lily, if you're here.
I don't think so, unless she's under a different name.
Okay, let's try again. All right, how about Elizabeth McCullough? All right, perfect. We have our winner. Okay, so again, thank you so much for all of y'all who attended our 2023 Transfer Summit. Really hope that we connected, folks. We will follow up. We'll make opportunities to connect with everyone who registered. We'll be posting recordings, and we hope to also make the chat logs and slides available to y'all as well. So huge thank you. Love connecting with transfer folks. Mandy, Madeline, and I are all transfer students, former transfer students, and it's it's just great to meet people across the country. Many of us are kind of the few people on our campus doing this work, and so it's great to connect with folks already doing it. And our transfer student leaders, y'all are doing an amazing job, and thank you for all that you've contributed to our summit. Please feel around to stick around if you have any questions or want to chat, and if not, you'll be hearing from us shortly with our follow-up emails. Thanks so much.